Lurking in the soil right under our feet, and believe it or not, even inside our own bodies, there's this ancient and incredibly powerful family of microscopic adversaries. They are absolute masters of survival, and they're armed with some of the most potent toxins known to science. So today we're going to profile three of the most notorious members of this clan, each with its own seriously unique way of attacking.
Yeah, it sounds like the setup for a really strange riddle, doesn't it? I mean, a puncture wound, the deep trauma from a major injury, and the disruption from taking medication. Well, the answer that ties them all together is a single formidable family of bacteria, the Clostridia. Each of those scenarios creates the absolute perfect opportunity for one of them to strike.
All right, so let's get properly introduced to this family. The Clostridia are this huge, widespread group of bacteria. And while, look, many of them are harmless, a few are responsible for some truly devastating diseases. To really get how they operate, we first have to understand what makes them so unique and so incredibly resilient.
This basically lays out their entire playbook. First, they're anaerobes. That means oxygen is literally poison to them, and that's why deep wounds are so dangerous. Second, they form spores. You can think of them like tiny, indestructible survival pods that can handle just about anything. Heat, chemicals, you name it. They're everywhere, from the dirt in your garden to our own gut. But the most crucial point, the real kicker, is that last one. They produce unbelievably powerful exotoxins. The bacteria themselves don't have to go far. They just set up a little toxin factory and let their weapons do all the work. Okay, first up in our villain profile is probably the most famous one, Clostridium tetani, the bacteria that causes tetanus. This is the one we all think about with rusty nails, and for really good reason. Its attack isn't on your flesh, though. Nope, it goes straight for the system that controls all of our movement, the nervous system.
And here you can just see the incredible disconnect between the cause and the effect. On the left, that's the bacterium itself. See its characteristic little drumstick shape? That's the spore at the end. It looks almost harmless. But then you look to the right and you see the result of its toxin, Tetanus, a horrific arching spasm of the entire body. It is a chilling picture of just how powerful this tiny organism's weapon really is.
And that weapon has a name, Tetanuspamin. It is one of the most potent poisons ever discovered. So, once the bacteria start pumping it out inside an oxygen-free wound, it gets into the bloodstream and starts traveling through the body, hunting for the nervous system. Its one and only mission is to find and block the off switch for our muscles. So here's how it pulls off this sinister trick. The tetanospasmin gets into the nervous system and specifically targets what are called inhibitory neurons. Those are the ones that tell your muscles to relax. It basically latches on and just physically stops them from releasing the chill out signal. So without that relax message, the contract signal just goes completely unopposed. And the result is spastic paralysis, where muscles contract violently and uncontrollably. That's what leads to lockjaw and all the horrible muscle spasms of tetanus. Our next villain, well, this one operates with terrifying speed and just brute force. Meet Clostridium perfringens, the agent behind gas gangrene. If tetanus is like a silent assassin targeting your nerves, this thing is a demolition crew that tears your tissues apart from the inside out.
Just a quick heads up. The next couple of slides have some clinical images that show the real-world impact of this infection, and honestly, they can be pretty difficult to look at. So just like its cousin, C. perfringens, needs an oxygen-poor environment to get going, it absolutely thrives in deep, traumatic wounds where the blood supply has been damaged. And once it starts growing, it causes incredibly rapid tissue death, that's called necrosis, and just massive swelling. The skin can turn dark and discolored as the tissue underneath literally starts to die. Its main weapon is called alpha toxin. Now, this isn't a neurotoxin, it's an enzyme that literally dissolves the walls of our cells. As it destroys tissue, it also produces gas, which is where the name gas gangrene comes from. And this gas pushes tissues apart, which cuts off even more blood supply, creating even more oxygen-free space for the bacteria to grow. It is a truly vicious, self-fueling cycle of destruction. The speed and the severity of this infection are what make it so incredibly dangerous. It just spreads like wildfire, leaving behind dead, discolored tissue and this foul-smelling discharge. The condition is absolutely life-threatening, and the main treatment is aggressive surgery to remove all the dead tissue, often meaning amputation, just to try and get ahead of the bacteria's advance. All right, our final villain is different. Clostridiides difficile, or C. diff as it's known, is an inside agent. It's a saboteur.
It often strikes when we're at our most vulnerable, turning our own internal environment against us, and it usually happens in a healthcare setting. So C. diff can get its start in one of two ways. The most common is really an inside job. The bacteria might already be living totally harmlessly inside your gut, kept in check by all the other good bacteria. But then you take a course of broad-spectrum antibiotics that wipes out the competition, and bam, C. diff seizes its chance to take over. The other path is an outside attack, where you pick up its super tough, resilient spores from a contaminated surface, which unfortunately often happens in a hospital.
So once it's in charge, C. diff unleashes two toxins, appropriately named Toxin A and Toxin B. These toxins attack the lining of the colon, causing huge amounts of inflammation and fluid loss. This image here is from a colonoscopy, and it shows the early stages. You can see that red, angry, inflamed tissue and the first signs of damage. Now, as the damage gets worse, these characteristic yellow-white patches start to form. They're called pseudomembranes. It's not a real membrane, though. It's a thick, sticky layer of inflammatory cells, fibrin, and dead tissue all glommed together. This condition is called pseudomembranous colitis, and it's the absolute hallmark of a severe C. diff infection. And make no mistake, this is incredibly serious. If it's left untreated, severe pseudomembranous colitis has a potential fatality rate of up to 44%. This internal saboteur can be every bit as deadly as the attackers we met earlier.
Okay, after profiling those three villains, I know it can feel a little bleak, but the story absolutely does not end there. We have developed powerful, specific strategies to fight back against each member of this Clostridial clan.
This table is a fantastic little cheat sheet. It sums it all up. Against C. tetani and its nerve toxin, our #1 defense is vaccination. The tetanus toxoid shot trains our body to neutralize the toxin before it can do harm. For C. perfringens, which needs a wound to even get started, the key is just aggressive, proper wound care to deny it a home. And for the opportunist, C. difficile, our primary defense is being smart about using antibiotics to protect the good bacteria in our gut. So, our whole defense strategy is built on these 4 key pillars. Active immunization against tetanus is one of the great success stories of modern medicine, period. Simply cleaning wounds properly can prevent something as awful as gas gangrene. Being smart about when and why we use antibiotics is absolutely crucial for stopping C. diff. And hey, for high-risk wounds and people who aren't immunized against tetanus, we can even give them a direct dose of antitoxin for immediate, temporary protection. Ultimately, it all comes down to this one powerful idea. For these clostridial infections, the disease is almost entirely a toxemia. That means it's a disease caused by toxins in the blood. The bacteria, they're just the delivery system. If we can neutralize the toxin, we can prevent the disease. It's as simple as that.
You know, the story of the Clostridia clan is such a stark reminder that we share this planet with incredibly powerful microscopic organisms. Their strategies for survival, which have been honed over millions of years, can have these profound consequences for our health. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other unseen dramas are playing out in the soil, in the water, and even inside our own bodies, just waiting for their story to be told.